thing. And I will put my email details and stuff in the chat, so if anyone wants to contact us for anything, you can. But over to you guys. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Maddie, you want to mention anything about Outlandish or Space 4?
Yeah, I usually do, but yeah, I mean, it's basically, so we do these webinars online, and we used to do them in the space. It's a co-working space in Finsbury Park, and it's very sort of community-based place, and we want to share skills as much as we can, and often for free when we can, and then we charge where it's sort of more whole day seminars and things like that. But if you want to, read more about us and stuff, I can put the website link on here, and you can always come and see us whenever you're in Finsbury Park. That's the website, and this is my email address. Okay, over to you guys.
Awesome. Okay, so hi, Alice, and sorry, your name was Akram?
Akram, yeah.
Akram. Hi. Okay, so I'm Ines.
Matthias.
We're coming to you guys from Uruguay. Do you know where that is? Have you heard from us?
Yeah, in South America.
Yes, exactly. We're from South America, between Argentina and Brazil. And because we are in this kind of like weird year where everything is over Zoom, is that we have this amazing opportunity to chat with you guys. I met Maddie a couple of months ago, in the beginning of the summer. And we started chatting everything that Outlandish and Space 4 and our company that is named 𝐴TICA, everything that we had in common. And we decided we want to start doing these webinars, talking about technology and business transformation through technology. And what a better way to start than having this first one talk about going from crisis to evolution, and kind of to address everything that businesses and companies are going through with the pandemic and all the challenges of having to go completely digital from one day to the other. So that's basically what we're going to do today.
Just a side note, we didn't have the crystal ball. We didn't see this was coming. We just adapt our webinar from what's happening today in our world to this.
Exactly. Okay, so if you guys want to contact us later on, this is us, basically. I am the Chief Experience Officer at 𝐴TICA, and Madi is the Founder and Operation Manager.
That's supposed who I am.
Yeah, that's right. That's your role. Okay, so as we mentioned, we are from Uruguay, and right now we're working within Latin America, and we're also working with the States. So we are a technology company working from Uruguay to the world. And what we do, we are usually the ideal tech partners for companies that are going through that transition of going from a very traditional business model into a new digital business model. And the way that we work is that we don't only just code, we don't only care about the tech, but we also care about design and strategy. And everything that we build, we make sure that makes sense from a strategy point of view, and it also helps our clients connect with their clients and their users and make sense in a way that gives them a better customer experience and allows them to connect better with the clients. So the way that we use technology is as an empowering tool to help business transition to these times and to go from a more traditional business model into a digital age.
Yes, and luckily for you, Alice, many of the companies we helped them build their product on top of which they build their company. So we kind of create a prototype that was the product, and on top of that product, they created their company. And well, many of the examples we are going to talk about are their products and how we help them design, how we help them build, and how we help them evolve that product depending on what the people need at that time.
Exactly.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, so what are we going to do today? Basically today, as Matthias was mentioning, we're going to share with you guys the experience that we have had over the last 5 years. wherein we work with different type of companies and industries transforming and evolving, building prototypes and creating new business models using technology. So we're going to talk a little bit about why going digital is so important. Right now, I think it's pretty obvious because of the pandemic, but it wasn't like at the beginning of the year. A lot of people were talking about, yeah, you should go digital, you need to invest in technology, but no one was really taking it seriously. And now, because of the pandemic, it's a little bit more obvious, but still it's important to understand why you need to really invest and really think about your business from a digital first paradigm. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about how to do it. I feel like lots of companies, a lot of entrepreneurs feel like, oh, it's not for me. It's only something that big companies can do. It takes a lot of money. I'm not ready for it. And we know that is not true. We know there's ways of that even the smallest of companies and entrepreneurs can do it and do it quite successfully and on the cheap side. So that's what we're going to talk about. Where to start, what your first steps should be if you're only starting in this process, how to know if it is working, and how to keep your business moving forward. So we would like to start by hearing from you guys. So what we're going to do is
there's a link on this chat.
Yes, there's a link on the chat for the Zoom. And you can click there. And
it was the pills.
Oh, not big stuff then.
Yeah.
Oh,
I put them in the bathroom.
hi,
Hello,
Mary.
that's good.
Sorry.
No
No
problem.
problem. So
Something came in the post. So it was my husband asked.
no worries. So if everyone can click on the link that is in the chat from the Zoom. Maybe because there's only 5 of us, maybe we can
Speak it.
yeah, we can talk about it. We would like to know from you guys. We've been talking a little bit up with Alice and with Akram. Hi, Florencia, we know her. She's from Uruguay. So maybe Mary, you can tell us a little about yourself, about why you're here, the role that you have right now in your organization, and basically what you hope to get from this workshop. Mary, can you listen to us?
Do you want me to talk or write?
Yes,
Anything.
anything.
What you
Introduce
prefer?
yourself.
Yeah, I can't remember how I got this link because I get lots of links to webinars.
That doesn't matter. You are with us now. Just tell us why you're here, what do you expect from this webinar, who are you, what's
Oh.
your experience working?
I've been working for years on years, ever since my daughter was born, and she's 34 now. I've been working at home, and I've been I started in the days when there was no internet. We were printing everything, and I distributed leaflets, and I was promoting. We had a thing called the Mind Body Spirit Festival, and people came to learn about different ways of health and therapy. And I distributed leaflets, and I printed and distributed leaflets around around London and around the UK. And then as time went on and we were going online, I rather belatedly got a website. So I tried to do the same things on the website. It was never quite the same. But the other thing I've been working on is community currencies. And again, it all started in the days when they had printed newsletters, and they try to have their own way of doing transactions, and they have checkbooks and vouchers and lists and so on. And then we got some software, and we do online. We host websites now, and it's very, very specific. But I can do this because I'm used to it, but it is difficult for the organizers who aren't used to it. So there are different ways of doing technical things. It's about, you have to, with the pathways, the first thing, it was just about giving out information, and then people did what it did with it, you know, whatever they needed for themselves. I never got to the stage of developing a community. All that came later with social media. But with the Let's, it's like lots of mini communities, and again, that's been overtaken by social media. So people don't understand the specific ways to do it, because it's like it's having a community, but also doing transactions. So it's quite complicated. I've probably said too much, but there you are. You did that.
Well, I hope this webinar helps you and you find it interesting with all that experience.
Yeah, I'm always open. It's my birthday today.
Happy birthday! What an honor!
I'm still going strong and trying to learn new stuff and connect with younger people. We have this trouble, you know, that the people in the Let's communities are, they might have started this when they were 60, and now some of them are 80. You know, I'm not as old as that yet, but getting there. And so there's this gap between the young people and the old people. The young people just don't get what this is all about, because they're so used to social media, you see.
Yeah.
And nice challenge you have for us.
Yeah.
Nice challenge you have for us, because you tell us, okay, you want to transform everything to digital? Okay, give some leaflets digitally.
Yeah.
You have some ways of doing that. Let's talk about that in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, we'll definitely do. Akram, anything you want to share with us? Why you're here? What's your role? How's everyone doing in Istanbul? Akram, are you there? I think
maybe he's busy.
Yeah, no, I think yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start talking about what does it mean to go digital.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have a great audience here that won't let us lie. And one of the industries that we help transform in digital is the travel industry. This example that we're going to talk about is a bit bittersweet, because this industry is one of the ones that got a greatest hit with this COVID, because you know that there are a lot of restrictions and many lockdowns. So not many industries or many companies around this industry are doing great. But we're going to talk about an example of a company that we helped them transform to become fully digital, and how they managed to survive after the lockdown and all the COVID restrictions. So I will give some contextual information of how we used to travel here in Latin America, like let's say 10 years ago. If you want to have your vacations in Europe, for instance, you have savings and you want to spend your 20 days of vacations in Europe, you would probably go to a travel agency that mainly they were located in downtown. You would talk to a sweet little seller, and with her experience and your money and your wishes, you will decide where you will spend your vacations, all right? So we weren't able and we weren't confident enough to do that by ourselves. And at that point, we probably didn't have the technology to do that by ourselves. So she will choose, or with our information, our money, and her experience, she will choose, okay, you should go to Istanbul, or you should go to London and spend your vacations in there. And she will become kind of part of our family, because after my lovely trip to Istanbul or to London, I will also bring her some souvenirs, like from the London Bridge or something like that, because she was kind of part of my family after she helped me have that nice experience that I couldn't have it by myself. And that wasn't that much long in time. It was like 10 years maybe ago.
Maybe even less.
Maybe even less. And many people in Uruguay still do that way.
Yeah.
Because they still feel confident. They like that girl. They like that man. That's the seller of this travel company. And they have such a great experience before. Why change it, right? But there was a man, owner of many of these companies, that decided that that wasn't enough, that change was timing, the industry was changing, and he decided, or he envisioned, the first online travel agency. In Uruguay, we didn't have any online travel agency until he decided, okay, let's build it first, the first online travel agency, because time is changing and we will need to go fully digital, because he didn't saw that COVID was coming, but he saw that there was an opportunity to get in here, to create this company and hit first. So like 5 years ago, he hired us, and as I was talking to you, Alice, before, we created a prototype that was this OTA, that after this prototype started rolling, we created, or they created, the company around that prototype. And nowadays is one of the biggest companies here. It has more than, I think, 70 employees. And it was doing pretty well until COVID obviously hit it really hard. But given the fact that nowadays they are fully digital, because we don't need anything to be physical, you know, like from the onboarding of the clients to the delivery, there is nothing that actually needs to be handled to our clients. It can all be done online. Despite this, there were some people that at the beginning they didn't trust us, and they will even come to our offices to see if we were actually alive. They touch us, they see us working, like, because are you real? You're not going to trick me, right? Are you for sure that you're going to sell me the same ticket to Spain or to London or to Istanbul that my sweet little seller would actually sell me if I go and talk to her? And after getting some confidence of our clients, after getting used to knowing them, after making some surveys, after working alongside with them, because in this kind of transformations, when you need your clients to adapt to you, you need to be really close to them, you know, actually make some surveys, actually talk to them and see and design things together, because that way they will feel that they are much closer to you and they will understand what you're trying to give them. At first, it seems like we were hitting a bit too early, you know, because we felt at some point that we were getting in a place where people didn't want us to be, or with this example that they came to us to touch us and see if we were real. We first thought that maybe it's too early, that Uruguayans wouldn't adapt to this change. But sometimes it's okay to feel that way, because if you need to have the backup and the strength to hang in there for a couple of months, maybe hang in there for a couple of weeks for the start to keep on rolling. But once you get them what they need, once you get them what they were expecting, they will become part of your customers, like loyalty customers. One thing that we did with them was we didn't try to help them buy in our OTA. We just try to make them understand how the process works and help them learn it by themselves. So this way we can get them be part of our company, because they will start talking to others. They will start talking to some colleagues, some friends, and say, okay, you have this online travel agency that sells really nice tickets. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to move from your house. You just do it by yourself with your computer. So this company was, as I was telling you, was really doing really good until COVID happens. But because of the fact that they were fully digital, after a couple of weeks from the day zero, or from the day of COVID started here in Uruguay, they started thinking, okay, we cannot sell any more tickets to Europe because there is a lockdown. We cannot take any plane. So what can we do now? And they decided that we should start selling tickets for local tourism. At that point, local tourism wasn't allowed yet, but they envisioned that at some point it would be one of the starting points. So because of what we have built them, this company, they started to change their product. They have never thought before to sell a ticket to somewhere in Uruguay. They have never saw the need to sell something like a package for a local tourism. But given the fact that there was this lockdown, they thought, okay, if I have the platform, why shouldn't I change my product? Why shouldn't I change my core and start selling tickets for local tourism? And that's what they did, and that's what they are doing right now. Nowadays in Uruguay, we have some good expectations, and there are some tickets that we're actually selling to Europe, to some of the maybe daredevils that want to go to Spain or somewhere to have a nice vacations. But they changed their core business with just a couple of weeks. And why they do that, or why they were able to do that? Because they were fully digital. They need just a couple of weeks of software development, some couple of weeks of product design, some couple of weeks of product getting the products actually. But after that, they were just, hey, why don't we do it? And they start doing it. And they are doing quite good now because they are not as they were before, but they are surviving. That's kind of a lot to say in an industry that is being really hit right now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the stories that we want to share to you, one of the industries that we help them transform, and how you can relate this to what we are having today, because one of the things that we want to share with you is that you don't ever stop this process of evolving. You know, once you were fully digital, you need to keep evolving, keep changing, and keep having in mind what new things you will need in the future. And this is one of the examples that we want to share today.
Exactly. So with that example in mind, there's a big difference between what being digital means and what it's not, and sometimes those two concepts get confused.
Yeah.
And sometimes people think about there's certain things that feels like, oh yeah, I have this term, I'm completely digital and I have this new business, but that actually is not what digital means.
Yes. For instance, here are some examples of what digital transformation is. One example is when from the onboarding to the delivery, everything looks and you have the opportunity to do it that digital. This company that we're talking, as I will tell you, getting customers and giving the customer what you need, or the product by itself, was fully digital. You don't have any instance to print everything, to interact with them personally. You can do everything online. So that's one of the things that digital transformation, or when you are fully digital, you can do. Another thing is, as I was telling you, you have a plan to become progressively more digital. This process will never end. You will start adding new features or new process, automating. That's something that we are going to talk in the future in a couple of minutes. It's a process that it will never end. If you feel that you're in a place that you are stable, you are safe, you feel secure, that's probably the moment where you will need to start thinking of how I should become more digital, or how I should put some more changes in my business. And the other part is that your employees have the capabilities to work in a digital environment. Many companies have struggled with this since day one of the lockdown, because many employees didn't have their personal computer, or they need some machine to work or to prepare something from their work, or they have some other impediments that didn't allow us to be fully working since day one. So that's kind of one of the things that you should start thinking when you prepare for the future, that, let's say, suppose we have another lockdown, for instance, like the one we are seeing that it will come in London, you should have learned the lesson and, okay, say we have another lockdown, but I should be ready from day one to keep on working the way I was before. And we have some examples of what is not becoming fully digital. And we have some, for instance, if you need some physical equipment to make your task, or in your primary task, you need some physical equipment, you probably need to change that, either because you need to replace those physical equipment with something that can be online, or you will probably need to replace that process itself to something else, dismissing this need of having this physical equipment.
Yeah, and a lot of companies usually get stuck on this point. Like, they cannot imagine, that's one of the hardest things to do, to reimagine the traditional process as something that is completely digital. And then when you speak to them, they're like, we cannot do this. This is the way that we have always done it. This is our core process, and we just cannot change it. We cannot live without this process. And when you start working with them, they can see it, that it can be done differently. Pretty much everything, I would say, even sometimes manufacturing can be transformed. And sometimes it takes a little bit more imagination and creativity to do it. But the first thing is to understand that you need to change that mindset of say, okay, this is the way that you have always done things, but now you need to start thinking in another way.
Yes, and Ines is really good at challenging in that point people or employees, because she's kind of a kid, you know, when they are young, that they are all saying why not. So that's kind of the tricky part, and that's what you should need to do, like challenge. Okay, no, we cannot do this because we need this machine. Why? Can't you do it some other way? Why? And that's kind of the key part here, trying to get them think in a different way. They have always thought that way, several years working the same way, several years giving leaflets door by door. We need to change that. We need to see how else we can give that same information, because in other words, giving leaflets, we are giving information. We need to deliver that information in a form, in a digital way, to make them be safe if something like this happens again. Well, what we have been saying, you have a lot of followers, but all your business runs on paper. So having a great Instagram account is not being fully digital, and being around or being chasing all the time the hot trends like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and so on isn't as well. So you need to be, you need to think of your business and not you, and you shouldn't feel the other way around. You should, okay, I need blockchain. How should I put blockchain in my company? Maybe you don't need blockchain or artificial intelligence or what else. You should try to get someone here like Ines and challenge you why you should do this with this machine, why you can't do this in another way.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get fooled into hot trends.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is not going to be a surprise, but COVID really changed the game, and it's a whole new game that we are playing right now. Probably, you know, Cirque du Soleil. For years, Cirque du Soleil was an example of innovation, of an industry that turned itself around, something that was winning, and a case study for transformation and innovation and creativity. But COVID really hit them, and they are filing for bankruptcy because now they cannot travel and that they cannot do shows. And even though they have this whole new business model around this wonderful experience and wonderful artists and great infrastructure, and they were leading the game, COVID really hit them. So for me, the big learning from this process is you can be winners and you can be big, and COVID can hit you and you can lose as well. Even winners lost in this pandemic, and you are never too big to fail, and you are never safe.
Enough.
Yeah. And you're going to hear this word from us again and again throughout this webinar, is evolution, because that's the only way that you're going to be a little bit more safe, or you're going to be able to transition more easily into finding new business models and being able to keep your business moving forward. Because there is a way of winning even in the worst of scenarios. And in this horrible scenario, this guy won. I don't know if you know him. I'm a big theater geek. He's Lin-Manuel Miranda. He's the creator of Hamilton. Hamilton was already huge. It was, I could say, as huge as Cirque du Soleil, huge Broadway. He was started in New York. He was in London. He was all over the States. It was huge. He didn't need any more money from Hamilton. It was doing great. But the way that Lin-Manuel Miranda thought about Hamilton from the beginning, it was always an experience that was going to be evolving. Like, he started with the play, and once he realized that the play really connected with pop culture, he went from the soundtrack, the mixtapes, the books, of course, everything that was merchandising, and he started connecting with social initiatives, after schools programs. Now he's connected with Black Lives Matter, and he's also, the end result was his a deal with Disney, and they were planning on releasing the film from the theater next year, traditional film release, and because of the pandemic, they moved it forward and they released it on Disney Plus this year, and it was a huge hit. And because he always thought about Hamilton as a platform for something else, and he always kept that experience evolving, and Hamilton is always not the play, but everything that Hamilton represents is always changing, it's always evolving. It's like he managed to keep that ball rolling, and that business continued to grow when other theaters and other Broadway shows started suffering because of the pandemic. So the lesson is, you need to really think your product, your service, your company as a prototype. Something that it's gonna be always changing and always evolving and always connecting to something else. Because the moment that you feel that you're done, the moment that you feel like, oh, I have arrived, now I have everything set up, now I'm a winner in this industry, that's the moment that you start losing. Because something like COVID could happen, or even something not as drastic and dramatic as COVID, but something can happen that you are going to start losing ground.
And our companies and competitors,
exactly.
a dark shark coming from the ocean that will eat you.
Okay.
It's something that you can never feel you are that safe, that nothing will happen to you.
Exactly, and that's the big thing. The first thing that mistake that companies usually make. That feeling, and that's why we don't like the word transformation, because it implies that it's a destination that you get to. It's like, oh, I wasn't doing anything, I have no tech, I'm not digital, and I can transform myself, and now I am, and that's it. No, it doesn't end. It's a continuous process, and that's why we prefer the word evolving rather than transformation.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, Lin-Manuel Miranda and Hamilton was already huge, just as Cirque du Soleil, but also the little guys can also win within this context. And we would like to share a case study from our country. This is Hugo. He's a very famous chef here in Uruguay. He had a bunch of restaurants, and again, because of COVID, everything got shut down. He was losing a lot of money. He was going to file for bankruptcy, lose his restaurants, everything. And he came up with the idea of starting teaching cooking lessons online through Zoom. So what he did was, using the kitchen that he already had from his restaurants, all the materials, all the ingredients, everything that he knew, and he basically streamed cooking lessons. And a lot of people signed up, and I think he made like it was really accessible, like maybe $100, and for 4 cooking lessons with him. And I think a lot of people signed up, and this is kind of like a rumor, but I think he made like $10,000 from like 4 cooking lessons. So like it completely turned around. So yeah, he's a well-known chef here, but he's just a regular guy with a camera, with a Zoom account, and his kitchen. And
yes, and many other professionals did this.
Yeah,
he was an example that we choose, but there are like personal trainers,
exactly,
teachers, and so on. You can name it, that did this, and they hit first, and they hit good, and they took the opportunities that the technology gave them.
Exactly.
In this
and
process.
it's never been easier. think about what we're doing right now. We're just using Zoom, and it's for free. And there's so many tools available right now that doesn't require a lot of investment, and you can transform the way that you are working and transform your business. And it doesn't have to be really complex or really sophisticated. It just needs to be smart.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was mentioning, we really prefer the word evolution over than transformation, because transformation gives you this idea that it's a place that you're going and that you can get there and you're done. But we really like to talk more about evolution, because this is something that it's never going to end. And I think that's something that we all need to buy into, that we are always going to need to be transforming and thinking of new ways of delivering value, delivering our product, our services, or whatever it is that we do. So where to start? There's this book that we really like. We can share after the name, the title of the book. It's a book by Tony Saldana, and he speaks about 5 stages for digital transformation. The first one is the very basic, is the foundation. It's basically what our chef Hugo did, is trying to bring technology into your business and bring technology to the experience that you're giving to your customer, and try to find ways of bring automation to some of the processes that you're already doing, to make it more efficient and to make it more easily to deliver the value. The second stage is siloed. Usually within companies start to having like different type of projects. They're not connected. People start competing a little bit for resources. Not a lot of people are on board of this process. It's kind of like the company is not yet able to manage all the effort of this transformation within a same one plan and one board general strategy. The third stage is you see the companies and the different projects and different efforts starting to get connected and complement each other, learning from each other, sharing resources, and you see them like the ball is rolling, something that feels a little bit more natural. It's not so like, okay, you have like everyday business and then you have innovation. It's not separated. It's something that you can move back and forwards and complement each other better. The fourth stage is when you really see a strategy for the whole company, for the whole business, all the different departments, all the different people that are involved are working within the same scheme. You see a portfolio of initiatives that are complement each other, and you really start seeing more and more how this is top of mind in for people across the organization. And finally, the last stage is when you truly live this concept and you truly run your business fully digital. The digital culture really is part of your DNA, and all people are involved. And you can only think about new business, you can only think about new processes from the beginning to end as a digital process. Usually in stages 3 and 4, you still have this competition between business as usual and the old way that we used to do stuff, and the new quirky, techie way of doing stuff. But when you truly know when you're living a digital DNA, when the only way that you think about new processes, new businesses, new products is from beginning to end, and it's digital. So with that theory in mind, this is a process and the funnel that we like to go through with our customers when we help them think about their transformation, their evolution. So let's say you are, let's go back to that fateful day. For us here in Uruguay was in the middle of March.
March 16th.
March 16th, where COVID started, and everything's shut down, and you need to start keeping your business working.
Making your employees work at their home.
Exactly.
How would they work?
How would you start? So the first thing that you need to figure out is the essential stuff. what do you need to keep your business rolling? What do you need to keep on working? And basically, you're always going to have external processes and internal processes. The external processes are everything that has to do with the customer and everything that is kind of like a point of connection with the customer, like payments and the delivery of the product and the services, the sales, the onboarding of new customers. Those are examples of external processes that for sure are the first ones that you need to address in this context to become more digital. But you also need to consider all the internal processes because, as Mati was mentioning, if your employees don't have a computer and they cannot work from home and there's not a culture of remote working, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter if you have the best payments platform and the best payment system, but if your employees don't feel comfortable working from home, if they don't have the tools to do it properly, it's not going to work. So you really need to start thinking about those two words together because they complement each other. And lots of companies fail because they put a lot of focus in the external processes and everything that has to do with the customer, but they don't give their employees the tools that they need to really deliver value to the customers. And if they don't have the good enough computer, if they don't have a good enough connection, internet, if they don't feel comfortable and they don't feel connected with the culture, working remotely, it's not going to work. And it doesn't matter the rest, it's going to fail. So you really need to invest in these two words pretty much equally because they truly complement each other.
One example here of companies that fail is when, okay, lockdown happens. Okay, let's start an e-commerce. Let's put some new technology on top of our business. But who's going to be handling with the providers? Who's going to be controlling stock? Who's going to be talking to the delivery? So it's not only putting the technology in front of your client to keep on rolling. You need to think on your internal process as well.
Exactly. So once you get that done and you're basically surviving, then you need to start thinking about what can be done better. And this is when you start thinking about how everything can be done more efficiently. And I feel like this is something that a lot of companies started thinking about because of COVID, because running things remotely, they started to figure out this is way more efficient. If your team doesn't have to commute, if everything is done online, it really becomes a more efficient business. And there's a tension between realizing that this is a better way of doing business and what are we going to do with all our team and all the structure that we have from the past. And I want to put a pin on that because we're going to address that later, because automation is not the enemy of the worker and the people. And there's a way of doing it so you can automate your processes and become more efficient at the same time taking care of your people.
Yep.
And we're really for that. But after you find your way to survive and find a way of making things work, you really start thinking about, okay, what can be done in a better way, in a more efficient way. After that, you realize, okay, there's usually a bunch of activities that add no value. Red tape, processes that don't make sense anymore, and you need to start working on those and getting rid of those. After that, you need to start focusing about how to improve customer satisfaction, how to improve retention, everything that has to do with the customer. How can you give them a better experience? And the way that we put it here is because usually you can do that better once you figure out how to make your processes more efficiently. Usually, a lot of customer satisfaction come from processes that are not efficient enough, that are not streamlined enough. So you need to start thinking about them before you start addressing how to improve the customer experience in a more creative way. And usually that works better than, let's say, I don't know, build a beautiful e-commerce that looks amazing, has a beautiful design, but then the delivery process takes like 2 weeks.
You don't even control the stock, so you are selling goods that you don't have.
Exactly, or you don't have a good process for return goods. Like if you buy something online, you don't want it, you want to return it, and that process is very painful. No, it doesn't matter how beautiful your e-commerce looks like. The process is more important than the design of the e-commerce. So that's why we put it in that order. And finally,
actually, sorry, that reminded me of made.com. Do you know about made.com? The furniture.
No.
So it's really beautiful furniture, stunning website, amazing. And then COVID happened, and they usually take quite a while to deliver anyways. But you know, people ordering stuff as usual and never received their products basically because they just couldn't deliver. But you know, everything was just there, it just looked like they would, and they promised a lot, and there was a lot of complaints. And I think they're probably one of the companies that really struggled, and you know, and they shouldn't have, because they had everything else, you know, there.
Yeah,
really.
they did half of the job. They did the job or the tasks that were at first glance they seem to be the most important, but they forgot about the ones in the back.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I know people who've never got what they ordered, and they had to complain, and they got the money back, and they had to give more money back because, you know, as an apology for the mess, basically.
Yeah, of course.
So like,
Yeah.
but then some food delivery companies in London really excelled during COVID. They did really well. So yeah, it's all about where you're at with your business, and if you've answered all the right questions and you've done it properly, then you should. But COVID is a good example where you can kind of see, did I do well? Did I not do well? And if I hadn't, what was so bad? You know, what can I do better?
Exactly. And this happens a lot. We have lots of customers that have great user interface for the client, but then the process that runs behind that interface are completely manual.
Yeah.
And you can see how, as a whole, the customer experience suffers because that backstage process that is not as glamorous. It usually doesn't give, companies don't give as much care as everything that's done in front of the customer. But you really need to take care of both to give a whole experience.
Sometimes what happens is that it's kind of a strategy. Like for instance, I need to start. Where should I start? I would start in the front. Now, like what my customers see, what I can sell them, and what would I do then? I would do manually. I would do some stuff manually, would complete some sheets manually. But it's a good way of starting, to be there first, to hit first, to be there at the moment that you need to be. But you don't have to forget about those steps that you left for the other time. You need to continuously improve, at least one at a time.
Yep.
But you cannot be in the point that, okay, I won't matter. I do that manually, it won't care, because you will start selling more and more and more, and that manual process that you're doing on the back will end up screwing the whole process.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so after you've done all that, then you really need to start thinking about new businesses that you can develop, new opportunities, something else that you can bring to the table, a new way to differentiate yourself from your competition. And really, these opportunities come from working in your internal processes and working on doing one thing at a time really, really well. And then you can start seeing all the different ways that you can complement that experiences and all the different businesses that you can then do. As Matthias mentioned, for this customer, they were really good at selling plane tickets for the rest of the world. They had the platform, they had the technology, and in this new context, they were able to adapt that platform into a whole new business. But they were only able to do that because they were really good at that, and they already have the tools to do it.
Yep.
Okay. So how do you evolve? How do you keep constantly evolving? You need to be really honest about your needs and capabilities. You need to be really aware of the tools that you have, the budget that you have, what can you do fast, when and where are you willing to invest, and when you talk about capabilities, also capabilities of your people. There are companies that have people that feel very comfortable with digital and working with technology, and there are companies that don't have that team. So if you're starting from a point that you feel like your employees are not comfortable there, you need to bring them to the table and help them evolve with you and evolve with your business. you need to find your own processes. There are a lot of methods, there are a lot of techniques, but the companies that we have seen that succeed the most are the companies that are really able to experiment with different methods, that are not shy about it until they find kind of like their own groove and their own way of doing things that works and that aligns very well with the culture. Don't feel like you need to buy into, or I do either design thinking or I do lean startup. No, just mix and match and find a way, the method that works best for you. Data is really important. In this process, there's no way of becoming more digital without taking data into consideration. Like every decision, especially for you, Alice,
Yes,
if you want to become a product designer.
Sorry, we have a great product designer in the audience as well.
Yeah, Florencia. So if you want to become a product designer, data is so important, and you see companies making decisions from data, and the ones that don't, that they go just by hunch, and it's such a big difference.
Yeah, and data is such a make you such a difference as well when your product is something online or when your audience is like the world. In those cases that you cannot talk to every client you have, you cannot have the opinion of everybody else. You have to believe in data.
Yeah, exactly. But also embrace design. And when we speak about design, is everything that complements data, because data won't tell you everything, and you need to read that information through the lens of empathy and understanding the journey of the user, understanding the journey of the customer, the problem and the job that they're trying to do with your product and with your service. So there's this way of really complementing those two sides of the same equation, of really starting with something that is really quantitative and that allows you to understand the user in a whole new way and understand your product and your business in a whole new way. But at the end, also taking that information and taking it into what you know about your customer, about your business, and the experience that you want to bring to the table and you want to give to your customer. And at the end of the day, treat people like people and robots like robots. We love this phrase because we do feel like automation is not the enemy of the people, it's not the enemy of jobs, but it's the thing that's going to allow us to create new jobs that are more fitted for our talents and what people can bring to the table. And there are so many, we know a lot of people that are doing jobs that are very boring, that have no sense right now that these people have been doing these jobs. There's jobs that could be automated, but they're so talented and they should be bringing more value to the companies that they're working on, and they could be doing such more creative jobs and more fulfilling jobs. So we do feel like this is an opportunity to bring a little bit more of transformation into what people are doing and how they're working.
Yep.
And
no, I think this.
No, this is, oh, there you go.
Yeah. So, as Ines was talking, we are going to talk about a bit of automation. A professor I had in university told me that a computer is a stupid machine that could do small tasks really fast, an easy task really fast. So here the idea is, and a computer cannot think. A computer can analyze data, can analyze it really fast, and can give you some information about that data, but a computer cannot think. So the idea here is what Ines told, treat people like people and make them do the valuable work that they need to do, and make a computer do the other jobs. The manual, the repetitive, the boring task probably need to be done by a computer, and you shouldn't spend your time trying to make your employees happy doing those boring tasks, because they probably will get bored. At the beginning, they may be, okay, new job, but I have to do some boring tasks, repetitive, manual tasks. Those are the ones that need to be done by a computer, and you should embrace your employees to do the more intellectual, the more thinking ones, the tasks that need some pienso, you know, like they need to do what they are able to do. A computer should do the manual, repetitive, and boring tasks. So the idea here is doing more with less, and as Ines told you, automation doesn't have to be the enemy. It sometimes feels that it's the enemy, but we shouldn't look at it that way. We should think that what we are trying to achieve is we are trying to grow. We are trying to keep evolving our process, our working methods, and of course, we always. It happened to me. One of the first impressions I got while we were automating some process, some internal process, I was teaching for this company, that for this online travel agency. One of the things that we did was we created an automatic process to issue tickets. You know, when you buy a ticket online, there was a manual task that was made by our employees that was kind of boring, repetitive, and manual. And we created a software that a computer will run and issue those tickets. And for instance, the idea was, if they sold 100 tickets per day, they will need 10 employees to issue those tickets. But actually, those tickets were kind of despair, because the 85% of those tickets were kind of boring to do because they were manual, repetitive, and boring. And the 15% left was the one that had a trick that the employees love to do, because they will try to see if they can gain some more money to our company, because they will see if they can buy this and sell that and try to get a better bargain. So they were kind of fighting to get those 15 left, but they were really boring of doing those 85. So what we did was, okay, we need to sell 200 tickets per day, but we don't want to have to increase our employees as many, like having 20 employees to issue those 200 tickets. So this software that we made was to get the 85% of those tickets will be done by the computer, and we have the 15% left made by our employees. So the idea here is not to look at it as the enemy, but just a tool that will help you perform better, actually issue more tickets per day, and have your employees doing the tasks that they really the tasks that are really nice to do, because the other ones are kind of boring, and they will get actually disappointed of their job, and they will eventually quit their jobs. So
sorry, before you continue, we've kind of actually run out of time, so I don't know how long you've got left.
No, just a couple of minutes. We're going to the conclusion.
Do you think you could?
I think in 5 minutes we can.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
So the idea of automation doesn't have to be the end. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just my computer. But I think Mary needs to go, she says. So, I mean, I will upload this on YouTube in case you missed the last bit, Mary. But you're welcome to go if you need to go. So I don't want to keep you.
Yes. And have a nice. You're muted, but have a nice birthday.
Yes. Yes, and happy birthday. And thanks for joining.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for having me.
Goodbye, Mary.
Bye.
So another example that we have was, for instance, a machine that was printing credit cards. In this way, you are thinking having an elastic capability, because how many credit cards you will need to issue per day, it will depend on your clients. If you have a fixed number of employees to print credit cards, you will either have too much capacity or too few capacity. But if you have a machine that has the elastic capacity of printing credit cards, it's a way of having this in a better controlled way. As for the future, what you need to do is take some metrics, do some experiments, and do it over again. Like any process that you have started changing, you need to have some metrics thought at the beginning of this process. You need to know how you are going to measure this process and how you're going to evolve it after you do your math, after you check what the experiments, after you check all those metrics that you take. You need to continue evolve given the information that you got from the beginning. And we will go to the conclusions.
So, as we mentioned at the beginning, it never ends. That's why we like evolution better than transformation. The idea that you are always thinking about a prototype and you're always changing it and evolving. As Matthias mentioned, text just gives you the flexibility to embrace all the changes that you need to adapt to new contexts. And that's why you really need to invest in tech, as simple as that technology could be. you need to really start thinking about digital first as a paradigm, like start thinking about your service, your business, your products from scratch, from the beginning as a digital process, as a digital platform, and always look for automation opportunities. Don't be afraid of those, embrace them. It's a way of allowing your customers to receive a better experience, and it's a way of allowing your people to do better jobs and to add more value as a whole. So, Alice, Maddie, do you guys have any questions?
Well, actually, I have a question. So, what kind of companies are your clients? Who would they be? So, obviously, you mentioned the travel agent.
Yeah.
Then is that so? It's quite varied. Who joins?
Yeah, it is. We work with entertainment industry. We work with tourism industry, with healthcare,
banks,
finance. Government. Yeah, it's quite broad. We are kind of like agnostic when it comes to industries.
And when with each industry, no matter what industry you work with, is the process always the same?
It's a good question.
Pretty much. Yeah, excellent question. Pretty much, we always go through a discovery phase with the client. Sometimes that discovery is a little bit longer and a little bit more in depth. Sometimes the customer comes with just the problem, like we need to solve this, we are getting behind. They know the problem, but they have no idea about the solution, and that's like one process. But some other times the client also comes with a little bit more understanding of what the problem is and what they want to build and how they want to change. So in that sense, it can be a little bit different, but at the same at the end, it's pretty much always the same. We work in the strategy and the design first. From that comes the idea of what the product or service should be and what the technology should be. And then we work also in implementation, how to help them communicate what that changes to their customers, to their employees, what tools they need to make that change. And then basically we start all over again because we're always changing.
Yes, and having kind of a strong process, it's what help us do it in cross industries, you know,
Yeah.
Because if we have some process or if we reinvent our process every time per industry, we'll probably get different results. And the idea is try to get the same result regardless of the industry we're working on.
Yep.
And that's kind of what we are trying to do. And we have done some good stuff in different industries because of having this kind of stable process that we repeat every time.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you work with do you work with companies only, well, is it international companies, what I'm trying to say?
Yes, we have in Uruguay, we have in Argentina, we have in Brazil, we have in the States, and that's all.
That's pretty much, yeah.
And we are looking for our first company in UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you should send me some, I mean, I have your website because we often get people who want to go digital. But we don't do that. We're not that company. So we can help them build the websites and, you know, put all the stuff together. And it's often websites based on a lot of data they've collected. But to do the whole thing, we don't do that. So I can always refer because, you know, lots of companies that you expect them to be digital are not. And it's always shocking to me today. You know, that they literally don't have a clue, and it's weird. But yeah, there's a bunch of them, especially, I mean, I don't know about other countries, but there's a lot in the UK because, you know, you would expect more, but actually a lot of people just don't have the time, they don't have the money, they don't have the resources to actually do that. So they just need a bit of a kick in the right direction, I think. Sure.
Yes, and one big concept here is that you don't have to start strong. You can start small and grow from that onwards. Like this OTA we created, it was a prototype, and above that prototype they created the company. And that prototype wasn't really expensive. It didn't took years to create it. So we just like keep evolving that small like that small plant that you are seeding, just like put it at the sun and it will start growing slowly, and it will get you at some point at where you want to be, but you don't have to be from start having this big tree,
Exactly.
Makes sense. Alice, do you want to add anything?
No, not in terms of questions, but it's been good. This has been a good webinar. Good to from the research I've been doing, I've mainly been looking at it from like a UX, like product designer perspective. So having that more like business minded, like perspective of how everything works has been good. Yeah, definitely something that I need to develop more in terms of understanding. Yeah.
If you like it, I think it's a really nice path to go.
It is.
It's it's, as you said, it's an industry or it's a career that is just beginning.
Yep.
And there is a lot of works. Many companies are considering this as a good opportunity to go and to embrace that. So if you have any other questions, you want to talk in another webinar, talk in another call, just send us an email.
Yeah, I definitely would. I'm working on my LinkedIn at the moment. It should be done within the next like week or two. So I can, well, let me just show you my face so you know who I am.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi. Yeah, like I've only decided this like path since the beginning of the month. Yeah, again, because of COVID and everything's becoming digital, and I need to upskill. Like I graduated with a languages degree. It hasn't really prepared me for the world of work. I need to upskill and learn how to use softwares and how just understand tech a little bit more. I was sort of like resistant to it, like, oh, I don't need it, but you do need it. Like it's inevitable.
You know what? If you
Yeah.
come from a language and English background, you definitely check out UX copywriting because that's huge right now.
Yeah.
UX is kind of like compartmentalizing into very specific roles.
Yeah.
It used to be like UX as a whole, you like UX designer, but now you have UX researcher, UX designer, UI designer, UX manager, strategist, everything. And UX copywriting is huge right now because you need to be able to write a very specific type of copy for mobile phones, for websites, for even wearables. So if you come from an English and language background, that could be a really nice transition for you.
Also, do you do coding, Alice?
No, but I think I've again sort of throughout COVID just realizing where my skills are.
Don't do it.
Sorry.
Don't learn it.
I know that from what I've read. I know it's not necessary because you then pass it on to the developers, right? And then they implement all of that. Yeah.
I was going to say we run a free coding school at the space if you're interested.
Oh, okay. Yeah, again, like any resources that are free because the money is tight at the moment.
It's completely free and it's I think you need to commit 6 months, but it's really and you graduate.
Yeah. I have like a 12-month sort of plan for when upskilling from this point until building a portfolio and then eventually applying for roles. Yeah, I do want to understand it though. I don't want to become like a pro at it, but to have an understanding how it works, because I think that helps the developers and helps you in understanding how you can design things. Yeah.
It will help her understand like what things can be done, because sometimes Ines used to, now she doesn't, but she used to come with some brilliant ideas that weren't able to do it. Like, you know, I want to say hi from the computer and extend a hand here from and that cannot be done.
I never do that.
Yeah.
No, and the other thing is understanding data. Maybe if you have some background in coding, to understand this big data, there are some really good tools. You don't have to be a pro, as you said, but when you will get there to the point of understanding and analyzing data, if you have this code in mind or at least some lessons, it will help you at that way.
It's always
that's something that I've definitely written down, like as a point, like believe in data. Okay, so what does that mean? Because I'm not sure, but I will definitely look into that. Yeah,
that's always good, but I always feel like people get discouraged from coming to the tech industry because they feel like they're not coders, they're not programmers, they're not engineers. There's not a space for them, and that is just not true.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I think it's amazing, and you should definitely, if you like it, if you feel encouraged to do it, go ahead and learn to code, because that's going to open so many doors for you. But don't feel discouraged if you go to the first couple of lessons and you feel like, no, this is not for me. You can still have a great future and a great career in tech without knowing how to code.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
That's a really good point. I will tell my kids that when they get
You should definitely tell them.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think we've kind of we've gone a bit over it, but that's okay. Thanks, Alice, for sticking.
Thank you so much. This was very helpful. Thank you.
But also you guys both for making the efforts and doing this webinar. I think we should maybe, I mean, we'll see, but we should definitely do another one, but maybe like end of November, kind of before Christmas. I think we're probably going to be home by then again, and there'll be more people by the computers.
And let's see what the title of that will be. Maybe something different.
Maybe it could be like lockdown number 2, England. What are you going to do? Something like that. Yeah, but I hope not, fingers crossed. Okay, I'm gonna close this off, but so yeah, be in touch, you guys, and Alice, if you come see us whenever.
Thank you very much. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.